Welcome to Whiskey Nightcaps, the channel where we do sip before sleep. And I am the captain now, Jason Davis. And today, we're not doing any tasting. We're not doing a review. What we're here to do is to help you experience and taste whiskey like an expert. So stick around and we'll show you how to do that. All right, before we get started, man, make sure if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and hit the like button on this video because the algorithms stay hating on your boy. I mean, on a routine basis, okay? Now, drinking whiskey is not like any other spirit. We're not taking shots of whiskey. It's something that we really want to take our time with and experience. And I know you see a lot of things and you hear a lot of different things from people, but let's make it clear on how you yourself can experience and taste whiskey like an expert, okay? All right, so first things first, we don't just jump right into our whiskey. We inspect this whiskey. We take a look at it. Now, investigating this whiskey by eye can tell us some things that we really need to know. Take a look at this, for instance, right? Look at the color on this. It's a nice golden kind of hue. Now, the color of a whiskey typically can tell us how long it's aged, but there are exceptions to that, and we'll get into that in a second. When whiskey is distilled, it's perfectly clear, just like vodka, gin, whatever. It's just a neutral grain spirit. However, when it sits in that wood barrel, the wood influences the color and also a major portion of the taste. So the longer that it sits in that barrel and interacts with that wood, it will get darker and darker. Now, just a second ago, I said there was exceptions to that because there is. Again, take a look at this. It's really not that dark, but this is 12-year-old Scotch. Now, the difference is the rate at which whiskey ages. See, whiskey ages faster in hotter climates and slower in colder, more moderate climates, which means that a Scotch, which is aged where? In Scotland, ages slower than a bourbon in Kentucky or a corn whiskey in Texas. That's gonna age at like twice the rate because it's so hot there, and it's gonna make it a very deep, dark amber color. Now, another thing that I do is roll this around in my glass and I take a look at how it clings to the glass. Now, what does this tell me? If it has a watery texture, I think that, hey, this is gonna have more of a short finish. But if it's very viscous and sticks to this glass, you know it's gonna do the same thing to your tongue and the same thing to your throat, which means you're gonna have a nice long finish. All right, so what do? Do we go in for the taste? No, not yet. I'll slap your hand. It's like when you're trying to touch a girl's thigh, you slap it, you're trying to get to second base too quick. What did I tell you? Take your time. Now we nose the whiskey. Now here's an important part of nosing the whiskey is having the proper glassware. I wanna show you something. This is my favorite glass. This is actually my favorite glass. It's a rocks glass, has my initials on it. Boom, and it feels really heavy. It's nice in my hand. However, I only use this glass to drink whiskeys that I'm already familiar with. Look at the mouth on this thing. It's pretty big, it's pretty wide, which means that it's gonna let all of the vapors escape into the air quickly and make it hard for me to pick up those scents. But a glass like this, which is a Glencairn, see how narrow that is. I don't know if you can see that. See how narrow that is? It's going to make those aromas and those vapors collect at the tip so that I can pull more of that in. So a Glencairn is something you need, or like a snifter, tulip-shaped glasses. Now, the ABV of the whiskey is going to determine how close you can get to this. So you don't want to just grab your whiskey and go straight in. No, you can burn your nose hairs off. And also, alcohol is strong and will desensitize your sensors, okay? It's gonna desensitize, what do you call those damn things? It's gonna desensitize your smell sensors, all right? So you start a little further away and you gradually bring this thing in and you find that happy medium where you can get close enough to be able to pick up scent, but not so close that it's painful. Myself, personally, I like to go from one nostril to the other. I move it around, okay? Because I pick up different scents on this nostril than I do on this one. You know, one may be more constricted than the other. After that, I go in with the full nose. Now, you want to keep your mouth slightly open as you draw in that air. So now you're getting it through the nasal passage, but also through the mouth. This will help you to pick up more on the nose, to pick up a lot more of those nuances and the molecules that are coming off of this thing. Now, I used to drink wine at one point in time when I would read the label and it says all these different flavors that you're gonna pick up, chocolate and raspberry, and my dumb self thought that, oh, they must be infusing this wine with this stuff. No, this is your brain saying, hey, this scent that I'm picking up reminds me of XYZ. So when you're nosing whiskey, or even when you're tasting whiskey, you can only compare it to what you've experienced. And that's gonna be different for everybody. Now at the end, I like to draw in a nice deep breath, very slowly, very, very slowly. And the further I go, the deeper I am into this whiskey and the more I can pick up, the more nuances I can pick up. So now you've made it to third base, you've gone all the way. She's letting you go all the way. You want to take your time with it. You don't want to rush it, okay? So there's many different variations on how this can be done. You hear so many different things from so many different people. There's the chew that people do, where they actually draw whiskey into their mouth and chew as if they're actually chewing food. And they say that helps them to break down the different flavors. Some people swish it around like mouthwash, like it's Listerine. They say that helps them, right? Expert whiskey drinkers will dilute 50% water, 50% whiskey, and they say that that opens it up and helps them to be able to detect more of the flavors in the whiskey, because the high alcohol content, like I said before, can desensitize you and make it difficult for you to understand what it is you're experiencing. Now, me, myself, personally, I like to draw some of this whiskey in and I let it roll all over my tongue, right? Because you have different tasting centers on your tongue. You have sweet, salty, sour. It's 4, but I can't remember all of them. Don't try to embarrass me. So I let it hit all those to see if it picks up anything in particular. Now, like I said before, with the wine tasting, you can only compare this to what you've experienced. I hear a lot of people say that they pick up cherries in bourbon. Never in my life, right? It's your personal experience. Nobody can tell you what you're tasting. Nobody can tell you what you're smelling, so don't let them sway you any other way. All right, so then you move on to what's called the finish, which is the end. You also can have a transition between what you've picked up on the front, on the tongue, to the back end. So let's say it's a bourbon and you get heavy caramel and cinnamon right off the top, but after you swallow, about 5-10 seconds later, this vanilla starts to come up, right? That's the finish. Also, how it goes down and how it feels when it goes down is a part of the finish. How quickly does it dissipate? That's a short finish. If you drink, you experience some flavors and then it's gone just like that. And sometimes that's what you want. You may be in between meals, or you're tasting several different types of whiskey and you don't want the taste of that whiskey to stick around and influence how you experience another whiskey. Now, here's a pro tip. Make sure your palate is clear and clean. I know I shouldn't have to say that, but some of you are nasty. Make sure your palate is clear and clean before you go to taste whiskey. Whatever's in your mouth will influence how you taste that whiskey. So if you're eating, that food will influence how you taste that whiskey. If your mouth is dirty, that will also influence how you taste that whiskey. Kick that plaque out of your mouth. Put that sword, put that toothbrush in your mouth, swish it around and make sure everything is clean. Now, when I'm tasting, I make sure to do that. I brush my teeth first, and then I have a couple glasses of water to make sure everything is clear, and the only thing that I'm picking up is coming from this glass. Now, if you've made it this far, congratulations. You have officially graduated from the Whiskey Nightcaps night school, okay? Go and tell your friends now that you're an expert at tasting whiskey. Wow them. Make yourself look like a whiskey scientist, all right? But don't forget at the same time to enjoy it, because if it becomes too technical, get out, right? We do this for enjoyment. Thank you for rocking out with your boy Jason Davis Whiskey Nightcaps. I'll see you back here next Monday. Peace.